Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a paid request, this time for OtakuGamingHD. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, re-reviews, reviews, as I'm about ready to sneeze. No, okay, not yet. Feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now this is for 88, a 2015 film that I never heard of, but it stars Katharine Isabelle. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's a person that was in Ginger Snaps. She was in... Sorry, get the audio a little bit higher. Freddy vs. Jason, she was in that as well. In fact, I thought she would have been a better lead than the Monica, the lady they got, but... She's the star of this. Katharine Isabelle is joined with Christopher Lloyd, playing a bit of a bad guy, crime lord guy, which interesting bit of casting. Now, the film itself, it's pretty much a female version of Memento, with a little bit of Pulp Fiction in there. It's trying to be non-linear. And why do I mention Memento? It's mainly a female Memento. It's a lead character whose memory's not the best, who literally has this rare disorder, while in Memento, he can't make new memories. And this one, a rare psychiatric disorder called fugue state, an amnesia-like problem in which possibly a new persona could be created. And they're both films where you have a person that can't remember who they are, or in Memento he can remember, but it's very fractured. Their memory is very hazy, and they're on the search for the person that killed their loved one. And Memento killed his wife, and this killed her boyfriend. And you have people, like in that one, it was Joe Pantoliano and Katharine, what was it, Moss, from The Matrix. Why can't I not remember her name? My God. Terry Ann Moss, not Katharine, Terry Ann Moss. So it's one of those things where, as it goes on, you find a bit more of the mystery, you piece things together, there's a bit of a, as you say, a twist at the end. I say, because this seems so familiar like Memento, that's one of the reasons why I was able to guess the ending, and I was right, so it wasn't really that much of a surprise. And Memento is one of those films I actually do like from Christopher Nolan. My favorite of his is Inception, but I actually do like Memento. I thought the way that was done was actually pretty interesting. I thought it was fairly well directed, and the acting was pretty spot on. The direction I thought kind of faltered, where it's easy for people to get confused by this movie. Now, I understand what's going on when it was over, but it just wasn't as interesting, it wasn't as exciting, and it was a bit more predictable, fairly predictable, I would say. And at times it felt like not a whole lot was happening, and I can't really say I felt too much sorry for the main character. Like, I felt for Guy Pearce's character, really felt bad and sorry for him. So though you get to the end, it did feel a bit of tragic. Here, Katharine Isabelle is one of the shining points. I think she does what she can. She does a nice job differentiating between the two. There's Gwen, who's wide-eyed and scared and confused, and then Flamingo, who's much more serious, deadly, sure of herself. Because the way the movie does is, it goes between two timelines. One happened before and one happened after. how do I do it without spoiling it? You're going through Flamingo and what's going on with her, where she's very assertive. She beats this guy up to steal his car. Maybe killed him. I don't know. Maybe just knocked him out. Gets a hotel room. Meets a guy named Ty. Is ready to shoot someone if she needs to. While you have the scared girl that's confused and doesn't know what's going on and just frightened about everything. And she doesn't remember who this Thai guy is, and he's confused by her behavior because she's not much more scared, and she's crying. He even goes, "Why are you crying?" I say her boyfriend was killed, and she thinks Christopher Lloyd did it. I mean, it's one of those things that because I was able to predict fairly early on, because it felt like someone saw Memento and said, "Let's rip it off," but put a female in there. It wasn't really that satisfying because I'm waiting for the movie to pull off some surprise, and it really didn't. And it's just a weaker version of that movie. Like I said, Katharine Isabelle makes it, if you're a big fan of hers from Ginger Snaps and other movies, sure you can watch it for her. It's not the worst movie I've seen. You know, it's not too overlong. Christopher Lloyd, I mean, always nice to see him in there. He's playing a little bit of a different character. Granted, if you want to see him as a different type and a much more fun movie, go watch Nobody. That's a very entertaining film. But here, like I say, I did see some people getting even more confused by the film. How it goes back and forth seems almost random. Like Memento, when it did that, it felt like there was a certain method to the madness to give Nolan at least that much credit. Here, it felt like, okay, we haven't been with Flamingo for a while, let's just go to here. And like I said, it's hard to care for this lead character who, spoiler alert, does end up shooting people, shooting and killing cops, does end up this person who was a friend of hers when she was Gwen, but when she's Flamingo doesn't remember the guy, and then just kills him nonchalant. Oh, he tried to call police, put him in the bathtub. This friend she had called Winks. Michael Ironside is in the film. It's great to see him in there, but he's only in it for like 5 minutes as the sheriff. At least it feels like 5 minutes. I'm like, man, you got Michael Ironside. I wish he had more to do. It's always great to see him in there. I think he's a great actor. From the 1990 Total Recall, of course, he was in Scanners. He was in Starship Troopers. It's been a lot of stuff. But again, you get this kind of confusing whiplash between these two timelines. And then when action happens, it's pretty meh. A lot of the camera shakes a bit during the action scenes. The little bits there are. So like I said, I guess if you're either wanting to see a movie that's similar to Memento, or you're a diehard fan of Katharine Isabelle, or you're a diehard fan of Christopher Lloyd, I just don't see what there is to love about the movie. I'm trying to be hazy because I'll spoil the ending now. For those who do want to give it a shot, feel free. Like I said all the time, just because I feel one way about a movie, you may feel completely different. At the very least, you know the film exists. And if you know the film exists, you can give it a shot. First off, the reason it's called 88 is that's the room of the motel that she checks in when she's first Flamingo. And if I tell, since again it's been confusing, different timelines, if I tell a consistent story, like if I took this movie and put it streamlined and continuous, this is what happens. Heavy spoilers. Shut up, stomach. I guess my stomach wants to spoil it before me. Well, or go ahead, tell him. Go ahead, since you want to talk so much. Oh, now you're silent? Okay, can you shut up? Thank you. Katharine Isabelle, she worked for Christopher Lloyd, knew him for a long time. You tell that Christopher Lloyd has a certain infatuation with her. And one day, Christopher Lloyd's character, like I said, this crime boss, she finds him, and he's holding this dead girl. And she's like, it's not what you think. She has a boyfriend. They don't go on the run. And one day, she has a gun. She hears something. She gets scared, turns, and she is the one that killed her boyfriend. Kind of like something Memento, but Memento, the way that was done and what truly happened made it a bit more sad and tragic. But yeah, I guessed that early on. She killed her boyfriend, right? Because she doesn't remember it, and all those memories are hazy. And this is going to be some kind of twist ending with how this movie's trying to be structured. And it was very predictable. Very predictable. So you're just waiting for the movie to catch up with you. So that's how it ends. The movie ends with her conversation with Christopher Lloyd. He's like, you really don't remember, do you? Then she remembers that she accidentally killed her boyfriend. She's crying. He's like, just blame it on me. The cops are coming. He shoots himself. The cops come. Michael Ironside comes. She's crying. They cut to the flamingo part, her point ending, where she gets to the diner, which is the very first shot of the movie, and that's kind of where Flamingo dies out and Gwen comes back. I know that sounds confusing. So like I was saying, if I did this all the way through, structure it, she accidentally kills her boyfriend, she runs off in a red dress, she passes out, she wakes up, she's now this persona, Flamingo, because of a traumatic event, either knocks out or kills the guy, steals his car, checks to a motel room, room number 88, one thing leads to another, meets this Thai guy, is confronted by Christopher Lloyd, she doesn't remember who he is, he thinks she's on drugs or something, she thinks they're going to kidnap her, so she shoots one of his men, some other stuff happens, her friend, when she was Gwen, comes to see her, but she doesn't remember who he is, so he is killed by her. Her and Ty put him in the bathtub. How she met Ty was this little sequence in a bowling alley, which just wasn't much of an action scene. Just shaky. Okay, it's not CGI. When you see a little bit of squibs, I'll give you that. But there's nothing really exciting or exhilarating about the bits of action. They're pretty quick and fast, and so the camera doing this. Then, like I said, as she's Flamingo, Ty's like, Christopher Lloyd fucked over someone I loved as well. We're gonna go kill him. We're gonna make a plan to kill him at this diner. And that's when one thing leads to another. They go to the diner. And then that's because she hears a song that her boyfriend liked. She snaps out of it. She's no longer Flamingo. She's now Gwen. And then you go into her being scared, being confused. Why is there a dead body in the bathtub? Who is Ty? Some bits happen. She gets arrested. She's talked to by Michael Ironside. Michael Ironside thinks it's Christopher Lloyd doing it and trying to frame her. Which I don't blame Ironside for thinking that. Ty tries to get her out. He gets shot and killed. She makes it to Christopher Lloyd. And, yeah, that final bit of business. like I said, because we see her so early on being either bitchy or killing some innocent people or hurting innocent people. Granted, as his persona Flamingo, but just like I said, it made me hard to care for her as a character. And sometimes it has some weird humor. Like at one point, as Flamingo, her and this tie-dye go to this weapons lady, and cops come in, and the lady tries to use a fucking shield to guard against bullets. Like now it's trying to be like a flat-out comedy where she's using a shield to block bullets, and then she immediately gets hit. Oh, it's not a big deal. I'm like, where did this come from? I mean, it just seemed kind of weird with some of the other bits of the tone of the movie. But I guess it's just trying to be very quirky humor. Like I said, it's not the worst movie I've seen. I think Katharine Isabelle and Christopher Lloyd are doing what they can with the material. I think another writer or director would have benefited this. I don't... Also, or maybe not, because again, if you want to watch this movie, you just go watch Memento instead. I mean, that's what I say, just kind of a rip-off of Memento. That's really what it is. So, with that said, I guess if you want to see another take on Memento, here you go. But it's just like a 4.79 to be. I can see why. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.